Hey, it's Soul, and this is Warcraft Weekly, the last show of 2023 before the weekly takes a break, unless, of course, there's another bombshell of news. Do these folks even take a break? Whatever the case, though, hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and with today's show, we begin with the present. The race to World First is over, with Echo having pulled ahead of Team Liquid in the Razageth fight on Mythic, only for the WoW team to nerf the last phase of the encounter before Liquid really managed to start their day. Now, some are saying that what was still going to be a win for Echo feels a little tainted now, like it secured their win at the worst time of day. Reactions are still fresh, so I'd like to hear yours, but I also want to talk about when the race happened. Because Season 1 of Dragonflight began on the 13th of December, and unlike previous seasons, Mythic opened up at the same time. That leaves a very short window for top teams to try and be the first in the world to down the Mythic version of the Vault of the Incarnates. If not for the top two guilds securing their kills the day before Christmas Eve, these teams, who had rented out venues and flew people out, would be going home for the holidays because, well, no question, people want to go back to their families. There's a narrative out there that the WoW team is being a little bit scummy by creating a release schedule like this. It's like, okay, Blizzard gets to go home for the holidays, but they leave top players with a schedule and a raid difficulty that, well, if not for the holiday break, it would have been okay. But instead, it's causing unnecessary stress on some of WoW's most high-profile players. I myself had predicted Dragonflight itself should have launched on the 13th of this month of December, which would have left room for the big race to begin in early 2023. It mostly fit. I'm coming at this from the viewpoint of not just a world-first raider person, but a world-first spectator of the race. Imagine your favorite sports ball event, okay? There's like 2 minutes left on the clock, and then suddenly the game has to stop for a few days. That really kills the excitement. No one feels good about that. At the very least, it stings feeling that pressure for these teams to finish, as if the WoW team is telling them to get good. Maybe that's why the Razageth nerf happened when it did. But on the other side of this argument, the WoW team put themselves in a pretty tight spot. It's like, people really wanted to move on from Shadowlands, that's understandable. And people don't want to see WoW's production schedule cater too heavily towards top players. Otherwise, what's supposed to be a community-driven event would be compromised. And that's where we're at. So, if anything, grats to the top teams for a game well played. And even if you couldn't care less about the actual race, I wonder what your thoughts are on the whole scheduling side of this. So what else is going on this week before the holidays? Capitalism. Oh yes sir ma'am, we've got deals with slashed prices, especially on a few items that will only be around until the start of the new year. Tyrael's Charger, which was an exclusive promotional mount, has also entered the store, and there's also this new bundle, the Heartwarming Pack, that features cosmetics that are yellow and orange. There's a mount and another mount. There's a Fire Lord over there and a cat and another cat, a moo cow, and a brand new ensemble, the Fire Plume Regalia. It's a bit more than just this single set. It features different styles for your body type 1s and 2s, and you can mix and match them freely. The WoW team has been pretty aggressive with shop content lately, which typically I say is an amoral practice, where, stuff goes up on the store, it's up to us to make the purchase or not. That's our power as a consumer. The long-running critique is that this sort of content should be obtainable in-game instead. Never mind that big gold makers are like, oh, we already do, just stop being poor. The argument is that there shouldn't be a shop in the first place. I totally get it. And that's what's got us sliding over into what is happening in 10.0.5, WoW's first of 6 content patches expected to drop in 2023. We're going to talk more on that later, but 10.05 so far is shaping up to be a fairly meaty mid-content patch that blows away the flaccid 9.0.5 patch from Shadowlands. I mentioned the trading post this week. It's a monthly in-game cosmetic shop that uses in-game currency earned from all sorts of content, meaning that there's almost always going to be something that you can buy from there each month. This also includes items that may have been on the store, which kind of dismantles the previous argument about being able to obtain things in-game. Trash and common transmog is going to be a thing, and there are also updates to the Trial of Style rewards. Some of these are restricted by armor and weapon type, but others, notably this headgear, are not restricted. The next Trial of Style, by the way, is coming in March, so leave some feedback on how infrequent this event is, and otherwise just Try not to forget. The WoW team is on break for the next few weeks, but they left us one more gift that ends 2022 with a bang, and that's this roadmap. Their plans for 2023, subject to change based on player feedback, no free parking, no refunds, all rights reserved. With Legion, we were introduced to a more structured release of content, which included a major patch that moved us from tier to tier, or season to season, and a minor patch that would be in between that, and they would include smaller fixes, quality of life improvements, and evergreen features, and a little bit more. The new schedule hopes to meet a similar timeline between major patches, but now we're getting 2 minor patches between each season. The roadmap they gave us, it's not a blood contract, right? But it sure is easy to make predictions. So let's have a look. Starting with the 10.05 patch, its content includes trading post objectives based on the Love is in the Air event in February, meaning that it's reasonable to say that the patch should come out no later than February 7th. Season 2, also prominently displayed here, will probably start 1 week after patch 10.1, which will launch in spring but before summer. Based on that, May sounds like a pretty good guess that we'll start with. Let's also assume that the WoW team's goal is to return to 6-month seasons. Shadowland seasons lasted for 7 to 8 months, despite some of us feeling like it lasted for a year and a half. 6 months after Dragonflight's launch is late May, which kind of fits. 6 months after that is late November, which is exactly 1 year after Dragonflight's launch, which also fits. This also means Season 3 of Dragonflight, yeah, we're like that far ahead now, will start December 5th maybe, which coincidentally would work out pretty well for top raiders who will have more time to race before the holidays, and for players to enjoy the patch during December. So now let's pull back a little bit and fill out the rest. Let's say 10.07 starts in late March, 10.15 is in July, 10.17 is like in September. So starting in January, we can expect to see a patch of some sort to release in the last few weeks of every other month. Barring a global disaster, this looks like a very good plan, but now let's dive a little bit deeper into the details of some of these patches. We learned about the trading post and transmog stuff happening, but it also looks like we can expect some more story content with the Bronze Dragonflight and the Primalist Tomorrow area. 10.07 is likely to follow that story with this return to the Forbidden Reach. That's the Drakthir starting zone we don't currently have access to. Finally, we'll get human and orc heritage armor, but I'm honestly looking forward to the holiday updates. We've been getting a spattering of new rewards each year, but it's been a long time since we've gotten new things to do outside of queuing for a few events and picking more eggs, and the events that we do have, well, they're just kind of dated by now. I'm hoping that we'll get some updates, but perhaps we'll get brand new holidays to celebrate too. 10.1 will bring us the usual, but also notice the Professions updates. My thought is that Professions will also get the season treatment, with new recipes and ways to make new gear, or maybe to recraft what we already have. It makes you wonder if the Elemental Lariat is going to be best in slot for like all of Dragonflight. I'm curious that further UI improvements are being pushed in a major instead of a minor patch. The bugs have gotten a lot better lately thanks to hotfixes, but there's still a ton of features that players will be asking for over the next few months, and I'd figure that sooner would be better. 10.15 will bring us the Mega Dungeon, which I think is really a banger move, because it felt awkward to get Tazavesh in a major patch, which was like, yay, let's run it once and then forget about it for like the whole season. With this, it's like, yay, let's run it once and then forget about it for like 2/3 of the season, meaning this move is 1/3 less bad. Do I pay you to be stupid? A bit more seriously though, I think it's going to be awesome to see that like maybe 2 months after the season starts, we're going to get the Mega Dungeon, and it'll drop gear equivalent to like, I don't know, like the heroic version of the raid. It'll be a timely change up, and it would help people who are still progressing into the raid. 10.17 will include the second round of holiday refreshes, so possibly updates to the Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas events. Season 3 ought to be a bit of a toss-up with the vague wording here, but I'm interested to see what's going to be in the Mythic Plus pool this time around. At least 2 dungeons are going to be taken up by the Mega Dungeon, I get that, but what about the other 6? Are we going to return to Season 1 dungeons? Are we going to see maybe an entirely different lineup? There's a lot to speculate, including what we do not currently see on this roadmap, like when will cross-faction guilds be a thing? Will there be more races introduced? It could be that there are items that just won't fit in the 2023 timeframe, notably a possible Season 4 that'll let us goof around for a while. One of the big asks going around involve the Drakthir and accessibility. If you've been paying attention, you may have noticed the Drakthir grumbling over their roles in the world, that maybe their paths don't necessarily have to involve being an evoker. I predict that it's not a matter of if, but when Dracthyr will be able to play as other classes. I think it'd be very, very cool when my Dracthyr Paladin can have a visage form of any other race, and they would stay in that visage form unless I pull off a racial. That's a very far off thing, I bet, but that would get me and probably a lot of other people to race change. All this news, including everything that's been happening in 2022, has summed up to what I think has been a pretty good year for World of Warcraft. Dragonflight was announced and it launched to a mostly positive reaction. It's made a real turnaround from the emotional beatdown that many of us felt during 2021. Blizzard's making a low-key Warcraft mobile game without the predatory mischief. There's a new untitled game that we hope to hear more about soon, I guess. Diablo 4 is coming in June, and well, I don't really follow most of the other Blizzard franchises, but they're there. And in a final holiday announcement from Blizzard boss Mike Ibarra, BlizzCon is coming back next year. The last one happened in 2019. I feel like I wasn't even born before that. It's been a long time. Even as restrictions are lifting and we're just living in this not so post-pandemic, I don't imagine it feeling the same as it once did. Mike Morheim and Jalen Brack, they're gone. A good number of longtime developers, gone and left or otherwise. Chris Benson is back and is likely to take the main stage as one of the few people at the company who carried this air of showmanship and charisma. And that's not even me complimenting Metzen so much as my pointing out that the rest of the team doesn't quite carry that same energy. So what sort of vibe will BlizzCon 2023 bring, and who's gonna go? It's still a ways off, but to be honest, while I'm super excited about it, while I'd love to go and connect with people and share in that collective energy because a WoW expansion announcement should happen next year, I'm not so sure about going. Not until I could feel safe. Of course, that's a 2023 problem, but for now, it feels like throughout 2022, Blizzard and the WoW team has been doing its best to right the ship or get back on course or whatever. They're trying to do better. It's not going to be perfect, but we're seeing this more, responsible side of Blizzard that's more conscious of its mistakes and is more mindful to respond. Is that everything on the list? Yes, the Blizz check is on its way. Hell yeah, baby. $20 gift card, here we come. And that's the show. Echo might have finished the race, but Prisoners of Warcraft is right on their heels, progressing on Phase 1 of the Rosagath fight on normal. So, it's just a matter of time. For normal, at least, I feel as if the difficulty is right there alongside Castle Nathria in terms of, okay, so you learn the fight and the general routine, and now you can just stomp it the following week. I'm certain that me and my team will be able to breeze through the first 7 bosses next week and have plenty of time to take on that last boss with more item level, another spark of ingenuity, maybe some more tier set bonuses, and consumables that we can actually afford. As mentioned at the top, this should be the last weekly of 2022. I'm just going to take a few days off. You can still catch me live on stream next week though, so be sure to follow me over on Twitch, and the Monday reminder is an essential part of a WoW player's routine. A big thanks though to the folks on Twitch and Patreon for showing their support, and to you, viewer, for making it to the end. It's thanks to folks like you that this year has been my biggest year yet, and I hope to make next year even better. So be sure to like the video, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you on the other side. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and New Year, and stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.